are here today. Hi everyone, thank you for joining the show. Today we are here to discuss buying and selling investment properties, and Jo Ann Koontz of Koontz Associates has been kind enough to come along and help us. So Jo Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. We are looking forward to hearing what you can bring to the table today in as much as advice, do's and don'ts. So before we get going on that, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, what you have to offer and what Koontz Associates here offers the client out there looking to invest?
Sure. So we offer essentially a one firm kind of mentality. We have a law firm and a CPA firm under one roof operating together to provide holistic advice from legal to tax, real estate to business, the whole lot for anybody who is in any kind of business, but particularly in the real estate business. I am dual certified as an attorney and a CPA. There are 2 other lawyers in my firm. There are 3 other CPAs in the CPA firm. So I'm the only one who's dual certified, but certainly all of the work funnels through me and through the firm in a way that every single transaction, whether anybody's asked for tax advice or not, we've reviewed it to make suggestions if there is a tax consequence that needs to be addressed.
Okay, so basically anyone that's looking to start a business, whether it's to invest in real estate or
anything,
a business in general,
sure,
you can look at their financial position, evaluate, particularly in the subject we're talking about today, investment properties, and see how that tax implication, how that's going to affect their bottom line. So
yeah, we're going to look at their personal tax plus the entity structure to make sure they're protected from liability. Do they have partners? Are they going into this with somebody? And to make sure that all of that is sorted before they get involved.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, you know, as you can imagine, the real estate market at the moment is very strong. It's very balanced. Yeah. You've got a lot of people now more confident to put their money back into real estate, so that, you know, they can have a nest egg, whether it's to increase their portfolio long term, or whether it's to, you know, buy that property that needs to rehab and to resell. So from that point of view, when would it be appropriate for someone to set up a company versus doing it as an individual when they're looking from an investment point of view?
So a couple things to consider. Number one, from investment, if you're just going to hold, say, vacant land and you're going to wait for it to appreciate, that's probably a situation that we can probably use individual name. That's probably going to be just fine. If we have rental property, though, that you're going to hold in hopes that it appreciates, but in the meantime, you're going to put tenants in, annual tenants, short-term beach rentals, something like that. If you've got other people outside, not your family, renting the property, there you're definitely going to want to have the LLC for liability protection. Honestly, from personal to corporate, on a rental property, the tax treatment is almost identical. So you're not really picking up a tax benefit. So if you talk just to a CPA, they're probably going to tell you don't worry about putting in an LLC, which is great tax advice. It's just terrible legal advice. So if we're trying to build this portfolio and trying to increase your wealth, you don't want to leave that wealth exposed in the event that something happens where you have liability, God forbid a car accident or something like that, or something happens with a tenant, if someone was injured in the property or something like that. You want to separate that legal liability from the owner or the property versus your other assets.
Right, and that can be established here, and as far as if there's more than one person buying the property, that makes it, you know,
that's another reason you'd want to consider an LLC. Even if you had, say, vacant land that you were holding for appreciation, it's much easier to sort the financial commitment and the obligations and responsibilities of each of the partners in the business through an LLC or a similar vehicle than it is to try to do just a property maintenance agreement where you and I are the individual owners of the property, and then we sort who's paying taxes, who's paying utilities, things like that. That's not the best way to handle
and
that.
And it takes out any of that grey area should something to happen to you. You know, it's very clear lines. There's no misunderstanding. Everyone's on the same page. Yeah. All right, fantastic. So the big question is, what kind of mistakes do people make? You know, what's the big, please do not, for the sake of my sanity, do this?
Please don't do it yourself, number one. I always tell people, you know, there's DIY shows all the time on HGTV, and you can watch paint your own living room or do your own bathroom. You don't see DIY legal work because no one wants to watch it. It's not pretty to watch. So I would suggest a couple of things. Number one, be mindful that when you close on a property in Florida, you are likely obtaining a title insurance policy at the time of closing. if you go and make changes to the title ownership after closing, you're going to disrupt that title insurance coverage, which you would otherwise have for the lifetime that you own the property, for one premium payment at closing. So, for example, let's say you buy the property because you're down here and I'm off traveling in Italy. So I'm not going to be available for closing. So you say, you know what, I'll just put it in my name and close, and then we'll fix it when you return. That's going to trigger a need to repurchase the title insurance, which is not inexpensive. It's also going to trigger documentary stamp tax again, which in Florida, we don't have a state income tax. So our state generates revenue on the transfer of property. So you're unnecessarily going to duplicate your title insurance cost. You're unnecessarily going to duplicate your documentary stamp cost. And if you are taking a mortgage on that property rather than paying cash, you're also increased documentary stamp tax and intangible tax again for the mortgage, let alone violating the terms of the due on sale clause, where the mortgage documents say if you're going to transfer title to the property, you've got to get permission from the lender to do so or pay the loan off in full.
So, in other words, it can be very, very costly.
It can be extremely costly and leave you unprotected where you didn't expect it.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely something to bear in mind. And you know, buying and selling properties, obviously, discuss with your agent, me, obviously. So discuss with an agent before you go ahead that can certainly give you some guidance as to that property value, the resale value, the rental income, all that good stuff, and also guide you to the legal representative that you need to discuss these avenues with, because you know, as you've heard, it can be very costly. So I'm going to put Joanne's contact details below. Feel free to write any comments, any questions that you know we feel or you feel that we didn't cover on this video, and if there's any subjects that you would like me to discuss with Joanne in another video, feel free to make them below. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Joanne, for your information. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure as always. Okay. And for your information, Joanne is located on Fruitville Road in Sarasota, just off of
Fruitville and Orange.
Orange, that's right. So if you have any questions, let us know. Thanks very much for joining us.
Have a good day.